What am I to do?
Welcome to He Said, She Said Razor Branding Podcast with Michael Russo and Jaci Russo. To learn more about how to improve your brand, visit brandRUSSO.com.
Hi, welcome to the podcast. Michael says I usually do this intro as quote unquote too much. So today I'm bringing it down a notch. Michael, is that better?
I don't even know what to say right now.
Is this what you wanted? You wanted the calm, mellow, soothing stylings of our podcast intro?
No,
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll just do it normal. How about that?
that's fine.
All right. Y'all are in for a treat. Today, Heather Johnson with T.I.E. Industrial is going to share with us her experience of agency side and client side, tactical and strategic, and all the things that make our hearts happy in how to measure marketing, get ROI, updating a website. We covered a lot in less than an hour, y'all.
Yeah, and it was very, I did very little talking actually in this. I did more listening, but it was kind of on your wheelhouse of strategy and stuff that I think you're really leaning in more towards, but it was all important things. Like I said, we preach a lot about creative and strategy working together. One without the other doesn't mean much. So, like I said, you have to have a good strategic approach to how you're handling your marketing, how you're handling your messaging, and then the creative side too, how you're connecting the right way with the right messaging, with the right visuals, the right things that tie in consistently for building a strong brand. So, a little bit of both.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So y'all stick around and listen to Heather Johnson with T.I.E. Industrial and learn some stuff.
When the day is through.
Heather, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we're glad you're here. I'd like to kind of start with an easy softball question. Tell us a little bit about T.I.E. Industrial, what y'all do.
So T.I.E. Industrial, we are a company that provides refurbished parts and repair services for parts that go inside CNC machines, metal cutting machines. We also do robot services. So the big industrial robots that are in your manufacturing facilities, we refurbish those, we sell those, we will actually go out and service them. But we do a whole lot of the work that needs done for those robots to kind of similar to how your car needs maintenance. We also work with those maintenance.
That's awesome. And now you started agency side and then moved to in-house marketing, right?
Correct. Yes.
So talk a little bit about that transition, your life as an agency, your decision to go in-house, and how in-house life is better or worse, what you learned, how you're a better client now because you had clients before. Just give us the whole lay of the land.
So I started originally with, believe it or not, apartment marketing. So not necessarily an agency, but very agency adjacent. I worked with the marketing director for one of the local property management companies, and I worked with a lot of the new construction lease ups. So the brand new companies, and where it's similar to an agency life, you're looking at, anywhere between 5 and 30 properties at a time. So you really have to very quickly evaluate, what makes each property different to be able to market it.
Right.
And then I wanted to be a little bit more on the technical side and be a little more challenged. So I went to an agency and I worked for 2 different agencies for a span of about 5 to 6 years, both in sales and then also the account manager side. At one of the agencies, I actually ran their digital marketing program. It was a boutique agency, about 50 clients. But that was where we really got to learn a lot about, agency life and the different types of companies that you could work with. We had a team of about 20 on that staff that I oversaw. And we did everything from marketing for excavators to liquor delivery during COVID. That was really kind of cool.
What a boom time.
Yeah, it was a really cool kind of props to that company for really kind of capitalizing on it. But that was where I really kind of was able to see how you can pivot with the different companies, was when we really had that big breadth of staff in the different companies that we worked with.
Right. So
And
now you're
where-
in-house. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just curious where you guys are located at, because I've looked around. Your website said a Tennessee office, but I'm looking on a map and it says Michigan. And you said you worked at Northwest or from the Northwest. I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure it all out in my head.
Sure. So I grew up in the Northwest.
Okay.
Got the accent care of Kentucky, where I went to college. But we are located in Nashville. Nashville is where the headquarters is. And then there is
Okay.
an office up in Michigan where we actually, I know we'll get to talk about branding at some point, but we actually consolidated 2 locations into one up in Michigan, right in the heart of Motor City with all those, automotive companies around. We've got a location up there to service all of those customers.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
Nice.
All right. Sorry, Jackie. I was just trying to wrap my head around where you guys were at and where you were working from.
I got it. You're working on the geography. You want to get ahead. You just want to start talking about Pacific Northwest and Seattle and your love for all things rainy and dreary.
Once upon a
Perfect day
time,
for
yes.
Well, that was Michael's life for a long time. And so I know, Heather, you were up in the Pacific Northwest too. Were you client side or agency side when you were up there?
So I was not, I actually was in the Pacific Northwest prior to starting my career.
Got
so
it.
that's where I grew up.
Got it.
We do have a lot of clients out in the Pacific Northwest. So we do definitely play in that space, but it's not something we've actually done anything with out there.
Right. Well, we get back there as often as we can because we have a client up there in the Washington State area, Maryhill Winery. And so
nice.
the next time you go back to visit, you've got to stop into some of their tasting rooms. Just the best experience.
We will for sure. We're going out there this year for a family reunion.
Nice.
So that'll be a lot of fun.
Very nice. Well, Michael, I think, has some favorable memories that he shares from his time up there.
Yes, we're not going to go into all that, but yeah.
We're not going to talk about naked skiers on Queen Anne Hill.
That did happen. I did see that. Yeah, there was a Jackie. I don't know why.
Because it's my favorite story. It's the best.
Well,
what happens on Queen Anne stays on Queen Anne, Jaci.
Exactly. Yeah, so I was there after college, so I spent a couple of years there.
That's your origin story, man. That's like where you got your bones.
It is. That is true.
Well, there's a very important question to ask if you were there for college.
What's that?
Were you at UW or were you at Wazoo?
No, I was at post college. I graduated in Louisiana and then moved up there. Yeah, I was during the grunge movement when everybody was flying up there for Nirvana and Pearl Jam and all that. And so it was very popular. So I went up there with some friends and I had a great time. It was a great experience. But after about 2 years we had a particularly long 2-year winter where it was just gloomy and rainy and cold, like for 2 years straight. Like I don't think I saw the sun. And so at that point, it really started affecting me. I was like, okay, I need to get some sunshine back in my life. And that's when I moved back to Louisiana. So that was my story.
I don't blame you there.
Yeah.
I don't blame
and
you there.
humidity.
Yeah. And what happened was it was during, really quickly, I had gone up there and I come home and I packed all my stuff and I flew back up there and it was a huge snowstorm that hit rarely in Seattle, but it was like it whited out the city and it was shut down for 3 days. And I got dropped. I lived on top of Queen Anne, which is a hill down by Seattle and on Lake Union and the Puget Sound. And I got there and I couldn't get up the hill. It was shut down completely. And I'm sitting at the bottom of this hill with all my stuff, looking up it, going, what am I going to do? Like, this is like 12 city blocks up a straight, walkway. And at that point, the naked skiers came down and they it was like a thing, I guess they do when it snows, but they skied down and landed by me. And I'm sitting there watching this, like almost started crying. Like, what am I doing? Like, what's going on here? So anyway, I made it up the hill and life went on, but that was my Seattle story. So yeah.
We've got a similar one that probably shouldn't be shared on a podcast.
Oh no, that's exactly the kind we want. Tell.
Because it's naked skiers and then topless coffee heads.
I haven't seen those.
They have them. It's a specific brand of coffee shop, but I was not prepared. And I pulled up and I was like, oh, okay. Can I get a latte?
How can you be prepared for that?
I was not ready. The girl I was with thought it was hilarious. She is an English teacher in Kent. We've been best friends since I was 8, and she knew what she was doing, but I was not ready.
I love that. I love that. So we were there. I brought our youngest up for Pride right after her high school graduation. And we went to go see Kurt Cobain's house, as one does, and ended up accidentally going to a nude beach.
Oh, no.
That is like a block away from his house, right on the Sound. And really, I just pulled into this road, like to U-turn around to pass the house so that she could take a picture. And all of a sudden, we realized these people were playing tap football and volleyball, and they had no clothes on. And they're like, not like the beach, and the beach is a mile towards, like, it's from where we were to the water was maybe a total of 100 yards. And they were in that 100-yard span. So most of them were 50 feet from us. It was interesting.
All right, we have drifted so far off topic right now. And
we have.
Your
people
fault,
are going to wonder if people wear clothes in Seattle.
Right. This
What
is
is going
not
on?
good marketing for Seattle, Michael. That's what you're trying to tell us.
Or it could be.
Or it could be great marketing. Exactly. All right, let us get back to marketing. Good point, Michael. Thank you. Get us back on track. Let's talk specifics just for a second, Heather. So I know that when we first met, y'all were starting a website project, and people struggle with websites all the time, when to update them, what the functionality should be, now how to tackle the SEO, AIO drama, maintaining them, reporting back so that the investment really has some sort of an ROI. So talk to us about your website as a project. What spurred the change? What has gone well? What are you worried about? Talk to me about your whole website updo.
The dreaded AIO.
Yes.
So we have always used TIE Industrial as a place to house the other brand that we don't have a website for, which is our general automation repair. And that one is, all the conveyor systems, things that you have in your systems that are not a metal cutting machine. You can send those parts to us, and we have the capabilities. That's mainly done up in Michigan. So what we were doing is we wanted to do a few more trade shows. And one thing that we thought of is, we have a very big initiative for new business. We have built this amazing customer brand where 50% of our customers are existing customers. 50% of our revenue comes from people that have used us for the past, 4 or 5 years. I met a customer the other day that has used us for 20 years. Wow. It's amazing. It's incredible. I wish I could get all those stories and just put them in a bottle, but
why not?
I should, yes.
Those are great stories. Just side note for people listening. One of the best ways to use client testimonials, obviously you get the letter, you include it with marketing in terms of like an RFP or RFQ, or when a prospective new client is asking you, hey, do you have some referral letters or case studies? That's all great. But the way to really use it is you create videos, you push those out through socials, you properly tag those for SEO and AIO, and you use that stuff to build traffic to your website, to your YouTube channel, and really drive the way you provide solutions. Sorry, Heather, continue.
No, 100% agree. That's one thing we struggled with at the beginning, because you think about a case study, you think of it, it's got to be like a project, right?
Right.
But it doesn't have to be. We provide parts. We are, none of our customers are happy when they call us. They're stressed. Their machine's down. It's broken. They need us, but they need this part. And the one thing that we started shifting to was, instead of saying, hey, we provided this robot for this person, or we provided this motor for this person, we kind of shifted into, this person has used us for 20 years. This is what they had to say about us, and building a case study that way. Because it really, that's one of the really cool shifts that you can make if you're in a position like us, where, you can't always brag about a specific thing because, we got them apart. That's not a really compelling story, but
right.
To talk about the longevity, that's what's compelling. That's what's really cool. And that's the things people remember.
Well, and to your point, it doesn't have to be a full project in the sense that you built the machine or you built the house or you built the car. It can be that you responded faster than everybody else. It can be that you met your just meeting the deadline, the timeline that you provided, coming in on time and on budget. That is huge these days when so many people are running behind schedule, over budget, not returning phone calls. Just showing up and providing good service, that's a story that you should push out through your testimonials.
Absolutely.
Well, and what's the BASF campaign they ran a while back? It was one of them. It was like we don't make the whatever, we just make it better.
Yeah.
I love that analogy of it's like those parts go down, and like you said, people call and they're already unhappy. Things are not going well on their end, and they just need to get things back up and running. And if you're the people that can help make that happen, then you become that go-to person, right? It's like well, look, it's all bad, but we're going to call T.I.E. and they're going to fix us. They're going to make it. They're going to make us whole again. They're going to keep us running. And less downtime, all that good stuff. That's the kind of messaging that I think would really resonate with everybody that's in those situations.
Right. And so let's go back to the website project. So you're working on a kind of realizing that you've got to get your website updated. So where did you start? Is this something y'all are going to do in-house? You're going to outsource it. You've got a web company and you're just going back to them for the remodel. How's your process?
So we still have a web company that we work with. They've been with us now. We made a change recently where we did have two web companies. One handled the big e-commerce site and the other one handled all of the other sites, but we recently merged them all into one. So we utilized that company and we got a project together. We created a basic site map, let them know how we wanted the site structure to be. But the main thing that we wanted to do, we're tasked with all this new customer initiative. We want to get new customers out there. Well, new customers, number one, what's the first thing you do when you hear somebody's name? You Google them. So we needed a site that told everything that we did. And that's one thing that we were lacking. So we had the redesign. We got it up and going, utilized our current provider. And at the time we had about 2 months until a trade show, and our provider actually was able to turn out a new website for us within the 2-month time frame.
Which is impressive.
Fast, really fast.
It's very
I think
fast.
even in today's world of advancements in technology and AI and all those things, websites are still a bear. They can be a nightmare. We've run into companies that have on their year-long journey of getting a website complete, because like a lot of times, like you mentioned, sitemap. That's one of the things that people don't do automatically. They jump right in sometimes, and they're worried about other things in the foundation. But it's like building a house, right? If you don't have the right plans, and you get into building the house and you say, you know what, I don't want this bedroom here, I want it over here. Well, that changes everything because you've already got the groundwork. You've already got the piping laid out. You already got all the structure built out. And if you start moving things after you started, that's when delays happen. That's when things start to get really complicated, And so to have that vision up front is so essential.
Or I don't know if it's going to be a bedroom or a kitchen. I'll wait and see. It's like, no, you have to decide now because plumbing.
For sure. We also, one thing I can say that we really did well, not to obviously brag on ourselves, but we had a minimum viable product as well. So the initial website redesign had about 120 pages to the website. Those pages are all built. They're just waiting on us to put content to them, and we chip away at it bit by bit. We add the content because we know we need those pages eventually. So those pages were built during the whole website process, but we were able to really hyper focus on our messaging and what we wanted in this minimum viable product. And we did have to pivot halfway through and go toward that minimum viable product. But because we had been set up for success, we were able to do so, which, the minimum viable product wound up being about 42 pages, but it still made it to where we were able to hit the deadline. And that website has seen a 454% return on investment just in the first 6 months.
Okay, I was just about to ask you about ROI. Tell me how you're tracking it and how it is providing value for you.
So we do ROI. You never know. You never have complete clarity in your attribution, right? But you can trust your trends whenever you keep things similar.
Right.
When people try to keep changing the attribution, that's not going to work. So here at TIE, we do last click attribution, and we're able to, use a variety of different tracking methods. We use some tools that tell us where the websites are coming from. But because it was a separate website, we were able to give it its own name. And we have always had its own name for that website. So we were able to see the phone number that is on that website. It goes to a unique line.
Good.
And we were able to see that website brought in X amount of,
Nice.
and we plug that in. I've got an amazing customer service team of about 7, and they all know exactly, like, it gets inputted in. For some of our websites, we use Zapier, and it just plugs it straight into our CRM for them.
Love a good zap.
Yep. And it's so impactful to be able to say, for this investment that you made, because websites aren't cheap, we've already seen a return. And a return on a website, that doesn't happen that quickly.
Right.
So it just told me that. Was that all because the website redesign? Probably not. Our salespeople are out there, boots on the ground. We had trade shows. We had all these things where TIE was being spoken about.
Mm-hmm.
But when people Googled us, they were able to see everything we do, and that led to future sales.
Right. No, I love that. Now, this is something that I see a lot of companies struggle with, is who owns the responsibility for making sure those pieces are in place. So for you, was it customer service? Was it sales? Was it you personally? Was it somebody on your team to make sure that the phone number was unique, and who set that up, and that's what's being used, and that there's a report? There's so many different chefs in this kitchen. Who's ensuring the recipe gets followed?
For sure. So the marketing owns the process.
Okay.
And that's what's so nice. But marketing owns the process, but we made it so simple.
Right.
We made it so easy. And that's what you need. You need it to be easy. We're not doing vanity numbers, making it complicated for our team. We do. But all of these vanity numbers go straight to a direct phone line. So all they have to do is be able to input what phone line the call came from. And it's just so simple for them to be able to follow it. And then we've got tools in place to be able to check, because we do have some tracking on the site. We're able to see, this web form came in from an organic lead. So we're able to kind of spot check at the end of the month, not to hold people accountable so much, but because they're busy.
Mm-hmm.
We've had several days this month where we've almost doubled how many orders we typically do,
Right.
And it's just, machines don't tell you when they're going to break down. So it's very unpredictable.
That is $1 million idea right there. If you could build some code in for the machine to message you all to say, hey, I'm planning on breaking down next week, get here ahead of time and get me fixed, you could retire tomorrow.
I could. Yeah.
You really could.
Somebody should work on that.
They really should. I think that is TIE Industrial's next big idea, discovered right here on this podcast.
What's so funny is you said that. So obviously it's April Fool's Day when we're filming this, but last year for April Fool's, we posted about a self-repairing motor.
Oh, did people fall for it?
No.
Okay.
Because I was so panicked. I was like, this idea is brilliant. I love it. We've got to make it very obvious very quickly that this is a joke. Just to have some credibility there. But it was a pretty funny post. People had a good time.
That's awesome. Otherwise, you're going to be taking deposits because people are lining up for that.
Right.
So, we talked about your background, agency side and now client side. You've done a lot of work that was very operational and tactical, and now you're focused on a more strategic role. And so how do all of those experiences blend together for you? And what I can only imagine would elevate this strategic side you're in right now. But mentally, how do you keep all those pieces together for yourself and moving forward for your team?
So I will say that we are very, very lucky with the team that we had. having the tactical knowledge, I think, has significantly impacted my ability to be strategic. One of the biggest benefits is you're able to really do kind of the age old mindset of find your highest impact with your lowest effort and be able to, put those in their different boxes. And because I have this tactical background, I know where the high effort and high impact ones are. I know what will be low effort and high impact. And I, more importantly, can, especially when you're a one person team or a small team, especially when you're a small team, it really makes it easy to be able to make your priorities and be able to kind of play the game of tennis with all the requests that come in, because you get requests from everybody, and being able to know what's needed to be done without losing your actual strategy. That's one thing that I think, having the tactical mindset, but also being able to know what works. My teams that I work with, we don't spend a whole lot of time talking about the reports. They send me the report and we have our monthly call and we talk collaboratively about what ideas do you have? What do you think we should be doing? And that's one thing that's really been beneficial, is having the tactical knowledge to be able to review the report without having them walk me through it. I think is really beneficial.
I love that. How often do you do an audit? And does that happen internally or externally, both? How do you set that up?
So as far as the full marketing audit, we do it once a year. We just did our last one, typically right before we create our strategy for the month, for the year. So we do our audit, and then we do a strategy session, and then we kind of come up with a activity plan. And the one thing that I think kind of sets us apart is we brought our vendors in for that.
As you should. Yes.
Like our vendors that do our SEO, our vendors that do our PPC, they were all there for it. So was our graphic designer and content writer.
Yep.
Just because you've got to have everybody rowing the same boat.
Yes.
And what better way do you have to explain to everybody what all we do than to have everybody in the room, because they may not think to ask this question, but this counterpart at another company may be thinking a different way and they get the answer. So I think it really, really helps.
Right. No, I love that. And I think a lot of people get caught up in either not doing an audit, which you audit your books, audit your marketing, all your things have to be audited. It's not to me, it's not looking for fingers to point and problems. It's looking for opportunities for improvement. And great ideas come from audits. But if you don't audit, you don't know what's working and not working. So, and so I love that. And I love that you do it before you plan the next year's strategy, because the audit should fuel that planning. So good on you for doing it right.
An audit is mission critical, and you have to involve sales. You have to involve operations in your audit. Your leadership team has to be bought in, because you're going to need them for something along the lines, but you also all need to know, what is marketing doing? What's next for marketing? But if you're not doing an audit, how do you even know what's worked last year? Because it's not even pointing fingers. It's more of, hey, this one thing that we did really well. We should find more opportunities like this.
Yes, exactly.
It's really helped. We've got a sister company down in Florida, and they recently did where they were looking over their past year's successes. I don't know that it was necessarily a full-blown audit. I would assume it was, and they decided to engage with an engineer, and they found an advocate engineer that, because they saw so much success with their blog writing and technical writing, now they've got an engineer that's completely bought in and getting ideas, and they were able to maximize because they saw in their, audit and look back that they really were seeing some pretty significant impact.
Right. I love that. I love that so much. So, I see sometimes marketers, and we interview them on this podcast, who seem to be kind of keeping these outside partners at arm's length. and not including them in the process. But the way you're bringing different partners together into the same room or into the same process, including engineers who typically try to stay as far away from marketing as possible, I love that. So what practical steps do you take to educate and empower so that everybody's on the same page and knows how to work together?
For sure. We do a lot of work sessions here. One thing that was always a little bit of a struggle when I was on agency life was we'd send a blog out for review, or we'd send a web page edit to review. And then the marketing directors would edit it and send it straight back. And it's like, well, what did you change? And now you've got 2 pages and you're looking at them together, trying to see what's changed. We do work sessions where we talk back and forth about.
Ooh, Heather, we lost you. I think you went off camera.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Michael now is just feeling, look at his face. He's feeling bitter because he's like, that's how I want all of my clients to behave. I need you to go teach them. That's what he's thinking right now. He's like, I got 2 clients specifically that make those random changes. They don't tell me what they just changed. We're supposed to figure it out. So keep talking, but you're just making him sad right now. But keep talking.
Well, what we do is we also talk about the why. This happens so much in what we do. It happens so much where it's like, well, that actually, it sounds right in your head, but it doesn't really make sense.
It's just word salad.
And we tell them, it's not a CNC machine, it's a CNC control. That's one of the biggest things that people do. And, being able to explain to them the why behind it. I've been with this company for 3 years. And we've utilized 2 different SEO companies, 3 SEO companies now because, you find your right fit. But we wanted this year to move everybody as much as we could into one agency. But one of the things is they kept wanting, the first thing they saw was benefits of robots gets a lot of hits on the website. But I had to explain to each one of these agencies that our customer is a maintenance tech.
Right.
They know the benefits of robots.
Right.
They don't need to know the types of robots. Robots.com is very, very interesting and one of the coolest things to be able to see, like what is actually targeting our customers and what is targeting people in FIRST Robotics or kids that are wanting to learn more about robots. And it's really interesting to it's the biggest puzzle,
right?
Is to see, what content needs to be on the site, what doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, sexy feet gets a lot of traffic too, but you're not going to optimize for that search term.
100%.
So just because people are searching for robots, that's not what you need. You need people who are searching for repair, which is what you do. Yep. So yeah, I totally 100%. Get that. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about what's next for you and T.I.E Industrial. We don't want to, get into any trade secrets, but as you look at this year, 26 is a big year with growth. Everybody's challenged by tariffs. Price of oil happens to be up. There's a lot going on right now. And so how are you marketing your way out of some of these challenges that are facing just about every company in the country?
Yeah. So one of the things that we really have had to pivot on in the past year is to push our quality over everything. Because when Fanic World was first created, it was a bargain brand. Mm. And now in the age of, eBay and resellers being online and, selling from other countries that are offshore, it's no longer the cheapest option.
Right.
But we talk about our quality. We talk about, you may buy it from this place, but you can put it in your machine and that machine will run another 5 years and we talk more about, the different things that we do. So one of the biggest pushes that we're making this year is to focus more on quality and what we do. And the biggest push, again, we're going after, new business. It's pushing towards educating our customers. We're seeing a big shift in buyers wanting to be more educated. They're wanting to be more self-sufficient. So we're finding ways to allow our customers to be more self-sufficient and be able to get all the answers that they need a little quicker before they have to pick up the phone.
Right. No, that makes sense. And I think that once again shows that you're serving the community and serving the market. And I think when people start with serving instead of starting with selling, they're going to get a much better connection to the people they're trying to reach. So, you've got all these search terms you could be optimizing for. You've got all these different locations and service lines and product lines you're working through. How do you keep the message on brand?
That can be difficult
I bet.
because the 3 different brands, they do very different things.
Right.
You
I would
know,
imagine for
and
very different people. I would think you've got very different target audience segments. Yeah.
we have 6 personas.
Right.
And we have 6 personas because it even matters which industry you're in, right? A big part of our customer base is smaller machine shops. They may order from us once a year. But when they order from us, they need to trust us because they need that part yesterday. And those are kind of our what the company was built on was that customer. And then we've got our customers that are larger manufacturing facilities. And, in those facilities, it's a completely different buyer.
Right.
So being able to keep and sometimes it literally is a buyer. The same person that buys our parts or the same one that stocks the paper in the office supply closet. It's not necessarily to that level, but it can be with some of these personas. So you have to agree on your messaging and agree on what pain points are relevant to every single one of these customers. And that was a really cool exercise that we did was when we sat down and we worked with an agency and did our audit. And we were able to sit down and really carve out our personas. What do they care about? How do they interact with us? Who do they interact with? Because a lot of them, they're different. My customer in marketing, as far as the digital marketing side, is very different than the customer that the boots on the ground salespeople interact with day in, day out.
For sure. And it's different than who accounting wants, and it's different than who service needs, and it's different who the C-suite interacts with. And so did you bring in an internal team, or was it really marketing and the agency planning it out and just sharing it with your internal teammates after the fact?
So we did both. This year we decided to engage with an outside marketing firm because what we wanted was an actual unbiased look.
Yes.
At our marketing.
And I'm sorry, Heather, I'm just going to jump in real quick because I cannot emphasize enough to our listeners how vitally important that is. You cannot see what you look like to an outside customer who doesn't know you when you're inside. And so you have to get an outside perspective to really get that view of how you look to the outside world. And so that's what an audit is supposed to do. It's supposed to give you a chance to say, hey, this is what you think you're saying, but this is what it actually sounds like. Hey, these things are disconnected. This is how they have to be connected back together. Carry on.
Well, and sometimes it's, it shouldn't always be something that makes you cringe.
No.
Sometimes it can be incredibly validating.
Yes.
One of the big things that we learned with our audit was that we were actually doing a decent job at bringing the brands together and that there are opportunities to do a little bit better. But it was a really cool experience. And the unbiased nature that an agency can bring to your business is key because one of the things with our company, the average person has been here over 10 years. Wow. I've got people that have celebrated their 35th anniversary. I've got somebody that is older than the company that's worked here longer than the company itself because he really helped get the business off the ground. And so it's really, really easy. You have to kind of separate this and think about who's got this expertise that knows everything. And then you've got to ask somebody that knows nothing about your business. I mean, that's why user testing exists.
Yep.
Is to be able to have somebody take kind of a blind eye and say, go find this part. Can you find it? Do you know how?
Right.
Walk me through, video yourself finding this part and let me know how hard it is.
Yep.
And
Yeah, no, that's exactly right.
it really was eye-opening. It was impactful. And it was one of the coolest experiences that we had, was to be able to see from somebody else's eyes what we did well, what we could work on, and where our next path should be. You know,
I
a
love that.
marketing agency can also give you, you know, kind of a guide path of where you should go. And that's one thing that I always really was very fortunate with. And when I was in an agency background, I always was so grateful to be able to look at what's happening in other industries. Because when you can see the trends over what happens with all industries, it's really, really easy. Not easy, but it's easier to come up with, you know, what you need to do next when you're able
Yeah.
to see, you know, algorithm changes, Google Ads changing its mind about how they want to structure the platform, and, you know, deleting searches without impressions, you know, all these different things. You see it happening with other industries. It gives you a better chance to prepare. And that's where, you know, your agency partners really come in clutch for you.
Yep.
And that's just, it's very helpful.
Well, I agree completely. You know, I cannot figure out how we time traveled, because I would have sworn to you we've been talking for 10 minutes, and I just looked up and it's almost been an hour.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I don't know how that happened, but I have to say thank you, because this was insightful. This was helpful. I think that your balance of industry and client side work really shows through. Your appreciation for strategy and how that drives tactics, I think, is spot on for how it should be. And I think TIE Industrial is lucky to have you.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Thank you. And we're going to have Michael talk less next time, because when he dominates the conversation like this, it's just too much.
Well, y'all
Well, I
kind of
noticed it
lean
was
more. Yeah, y'all lean more in the strategy side of things. That's more Jackie's wheelhouse. I'm more on the creative side. So we can have another conversation later about that, maybe. But yeah, no, the strategy stuff's fascinating. It's so important. Our agency's kind of both sides of that coin, and everything that you were talking about is really heavy, you know, SEO, website strategy driven, which is so important. And you can't negate any of that either. You know, it's just one without the other. You end up with, you know, half of the offerings, you know.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, Heather, thank you. This was awesome and perfect, and you were lovely. And we're excited to have you. So, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
When the day is through.